Hello everybody, and thank you for being here and watching this video. Dr. Martin Luther King taught us that education is a powerful force for freedom and justice. He once said, "Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." In Revere Public Schools, we honor Dr. King's legacy by working every day to ensure every student has access to high-quality instruction, meaningful academic and social-emotional supports, and pathways to success. Our responsibility as educators and leaders is to dismantle barriers that have historically limited opportunities to success for some, and to replace them with systems rooted in equity, belonging, and high expectations for all. We are working to create learning environments where students feel valued and challenged, and where inclusive practices celebrate the rich diversity of our community. As we honor Dr. King, we recommit ourselves to his dream, using education as a pathway to justice, belonging, and opportunity for all. Please enjoy the video that follows.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but judged by the content of their character.
Hi, I'm Patrick Keefe, and here today to talk about the significance of the history of Martin Luther King and why it's so important to reflect on the services that he had to his people and to our nation. It was a period of inflection where parts of the country were literally burning, and Dr. King understood the significance of bringing the temperature down. Believe it or not, arrested 30 times for peaceful protests, and recognized for a Nobel Peace Prize. Days like today, when you wake up in the news and certainly social media tries to challenge us to be more spread apart and to think of our differences, it's more important to think about what makes us so much alike. So I hope everyone can take the time on Martin Luther King Day and every day to think about how we can be better people and how we can champion for each other and how we can live as one united front. So happy Martin Luther King Day.
I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as brothers and sisters. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
Hi everyone, this is Ward 1 School Committee member Jacqueline Monteroso, and I'm very excited to be contributing to this year's MLK tribute. So one of the questions that was posed to me was, how do my decisions support fair and inclusive educational practices? And so when it comes specifically to me, when it comes to votes, my whole purpose is stakeholder engagement. And so when I ran for office, I wanted to make sure that students, educators, and family and community members had a seat at the decision-making table, with me, through me, or by my side, if possible, when possible. And so what that really means is that whenever we're coming up to big decisions, making sure that we are having community forums, that we are surveying our parents, our students, our educators, that we are also providing equitable access to us. So whether that's through translations, closed captions. So one good example is that as the school committee prepares to vote on whether or not to eliminate or redesign the middle school lottery, I really pushed for the committee and the district to have a community engagement night so we could hear from parents and students and know, do you want the lottery to be removed? And so what option of the three options that we have would you prefer for your students as they go into middle school? And so making sure that we have forums like that, like also when we had the cell phone policy town hall to see what parents and students thought of revising our cell phone policy usage. So having different stakeholder engagement opportunities like those and making sure that we're offering translation services so that all parents can participate to me is one way that I am making sure that my votes on the school committee are fair and inclusive of the community I represent. And that's just one of many examples. And so I hope that I can always continue to be a voice for you all and a voice with you all in our fight for educational equity and equality.
This is our hope, and this is the faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. And this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing, land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring.
Hi everyone, it's State Senator Lydia Edwards. I just wanted to, first of all, wish you all a happy, reflective Martin Luther King Day. On this moment and in this time, when we think about him and his leadership, we need to remember that he was leading through difficult times and difficult conversations. And he didn't necessarily know how things were going to end, but he knew that the process, the journey, and constantly talking with each other and respecting each other's humanity was vital for all of us to have equal rights. And I think that's really important at this time to remember to always see somebody else's humanity, to always understand that at the end of the day, we are really one. And all of us deserve dignity, respect, and equal rights. So, while it may be difficult in this time, and while conversations may be tough, it's the process, it's the journey, and never forgetting to love one another.
And if America is become a great nation, this must become true. Let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California.
I'm State Representative Jessica Janino, and I'm here today in my office in the State House to reflect on the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's so fitting that as I share these remarks and as the city of Revere celebrates MLK Day, that I'm able to give this from my office because we are in the Massachusetts State House, the very building where over 60 years ago, Dr. King addressed my colleagues in the Massachusetts legislature during a really tough time in our nation's history. It was 1965. We were still a segregated country, the North and the South, and there was so much adversity in housing, in education, and in these fundamental systems that we know have a direct outcome on students and how people learn. During his speech, Dr. King shared with my colleagues in the legislature a message, and he talked about brotherhood, and he talked about the importance of nonviolent protests, and he shared his vision for a country that was united with the foundations of love and with how we treat each other. And in his lectures, Dr. King would often share so much more than just ideals. And he pushed for important things like legislation that improved educational outcomes and housing equity, but he also talked about how we treat each other. And if I could reflect on the most important way that 40 years later, the 40th anniversary of the first Martin Luther King Jr. Day, it would be to live by the ideals that he preached, to treat each other with love, to treat each other with respect, and to remember these as we move forward. And something that was unique is when he gave this address from the Massachusetts State House, the next day, he led a protest in Boston Common. And that protest was to talk about housing and educational equity and the inequities that existed in our system at the time. It was 2 years after the president had been assassinated, and it was a really dark time in our history. And through that speech on the House floor and through that protest the next day in Boston Common, Dr. King motivated so many people in Massachusetts. And in his remarks on the floor, he said, "It was from these shores that the vision of a new nation conceived in liberty was born. And it must be from these shores that liberty must be preserved. And in the hearts and the lives of every citizen, preserved through the maintenance and of opportunity, through the constant creation of those conditions, that we will make justice and brotherhood a reality for all." That was the foundation of his speech. And he gave it in Massachusetts because he knew that we were the birthplace of this country. And from that birthplace is where change would spark. And as a result of his protests and his speech, months later, the governor of Massachusetts proposed legislation that would improve our educational system and address some of the racial imbalances that we had because of Dr. King's work. And that legislation was largely influenced by some of the things he spoke about on April 22nd, 1965, when he spoke in this very building. So as we reflect on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., I ask that we reflect on how we treat each other, reflect on how we treat our classmates, our colleagues, our friends, our peers, because that is the most beautiful way that we can honor his legacy in the city of Revere and beyond. Thank you.
But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi.
From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we'll be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old, the spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, you're free at last.
As we conclude this Dr. King Jr. Day of service, let us reflect not only on what we have accomplished today, or even throughout our lives, but on the work that still lies ahead. Dr. King taught us that justice requires commitment and action through nonviolent means. Today, our students and leaders shared how Dr. King's legacy has shaped their vision for our community and nation. Meaningful change is never the work of one person alone. Real progress happens when we come together, working for equity, justice, and the common good, lifting one another along the way. Let this day remind us to embrace empathy over indifference, unity over division, and service over silence. May the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. inspire us not only today, but every day.